welcome to our first episode of Soul Survival. My name is Pastor Gordon Walsh. I'm a retired Green Beret Special Forces U.S. Army. And what we're going to be talking about is water purification today, and we're going to teach you on the survival side how to purify water out in the woods. And on the soul side, we're going to be talking about baptism and water baptism and how it applies to you as a Christian. So we hope you enjoy today and you learn something. God bless. Thank you. Being our first episode, I want to talk a little bit about a couple other things first before we get into water purification. But being in a survival situation, I always recommend that you bring essential tools with you. And of course, being a Christian organization, we're going to recommend the Bible. However, but besides that, I have a survival book that I take with me whenever I go hiking or anything, because you're not going to remember everything. And every situation, you're not going to know all. So I recommend that you buy a good survival book. You know, this is a survival book that I use. Also take my Ranger handbook. Not that I'm having to do tactics with me. This one's a pretty old one. I think it was 1988. I went to Ranger School in 1990. And then the SAS survival book is also a very good book that you can use. I like it because it's got a lot of colorful pictures in it. So those are the things I like. So if you look at this one, it too has a lot of colorful pictures. But whatever book you find that fits you best is what you want to use. But going back to the water purification water, this is the one that I use. It's a ceramic one. It's easy. I can just fill this up with water, put this in there, and I can drink immediately. So this would be one that I use personally. I like this one as well. But what I've used most in the past is iodine tablets. In the United States Army, we've used iodine tablets all over the place. I've drank out of mud puddles with iodine tablets. I also had a few shots before I went into country, so I don't know if I'd recommend making this your primary source. But your primary source, if you really want to purify water, is boiling water. And you want to boil it for about 5 minutes. Let it have a good strong boil for 5 minutes. Today we're not going to spend 5 minutes and let you go through the grueling punishment of watching water boil. But you want to let it boil for 5 minutes, and then you can drink it. Of course, it'll be hot, so if you need to cool it down, let it cool down. But that's the best way I feel to purify water. But iodine tablets, water filtration systems, and there's all kinds of ways out there. You can Google them, you can go on the internet, and of course in the survival books. Alright, you see a couple store-bought methods for water purification, but now I'm going to attempt to take some of these rocks here that I've been putting in this fire for a while. We've been stoking this fire, I didn't want to make a very big one, and we're going to put some hot rocks into this water here to bring it to a boil. Now it is hard to get this to boil for 5 minutes unless you just have massive amounts of rocks and just keep switching them in and out. But at least bringing it to a boil and letting it boil for a little while will help eliminate some of the critters that are in it. Some of the things that you want to use, is a stick. If you don't have any tools, I usually pack my e-tool with me, a good knife, a couple other knives. So we're going to just move this out here. We're going to put these rocks on here, and we're going to drop it into this water, and hopefully you'll start to see it boiling. So you just continue to build up. Look at that boil. So whenever you see on TV and they show you heating up water and boiling water and plastic and all kinds of stuff, you know what? If I can burn some wood to heat up water and plastic, I can probably find a few rocks to put it in something like this and don't have to worry about popping my plastic bottle. But it is possible to heat up in a plastic bottle. So you got to get the picture there, and this would boil off, and you can drink this. Then, of course, the preferred method is you have your cup, which you can see here. I've been heating it for a little while, but it isn't to a full boil. So you put this over the file and let it heat up for about 5 minutes, and just let that water boil for 5 minutes, and that will help kill all the contaminants in there. And that is the preferred method for water purification, at least for Gordon Walsh. So, now the next thing we're going to be talking about is we're going to be reading out of our Bible, and we're going to talk about water baptism. So, most Christians, when you ask them, when is the first account in the Bible that water baptism took place? And they're going to respond with when Jesus got baptized by John. And, there'll be a few people who say, well, obviously there was baptisms going on before Jesus was baptized, so, we're not 100% sure when that was, but John the Baptist was the first person to baptize. Well, that's not actually the case. Noah was saved through water baptism of the whole entire earth, because everybody on the earth was sinning, and God just got tired of all their stuff that they were doing wrong. So he's like, you know what, I'm going to baptize the whole entire earth. And there was only 8 people saved on that.
Now we'll be reading from 1 Peter 3:18 through 22. For Christ also suffered once for sin, the just for the unjust, that he might bring us to God, being put to death in the flesh, but made alive by the Spirit, by whom also he went and preached to the spirits in prison, who formerly were disobedient, when once the divine long-suffering waited in the days of Noah, while the ark was being prepared, in which a few, that is, 8 souls, were saved through water. There is also an antitype which now saves us, baptism, through the resurrection of Jesus Christ, who has gone into heaven and is at the right hand of God, angels and authorities and powers having been made subject to him.
So that's the first account of water baptism, was the baptism of the whole planet when God flooded the earth. Now, we're not saying that water baptism is what sends you to heaven. What we are saying, and it's a very significant part of your belief in Jesus Christ, your salvation, and that it should be done. So, your belief in Jesus Christ alone, in repenting of your sins, is salvation right there. So if you went out and gave yourself to Christ, repented of your sins, and for some reason didn't have the opportunity to be baptized and went to see your Father sooner than you anticipated, it doesn't mean that you're not going. But I believe in the Bible it's very important that we get water baptized, and Jesus Christ himself was fully submerged into the water and came up out of the water. So we ask you that you tune in next time for Soul Survival, and God bless, and see you again.